I don't have all of the solutions, but the next generation of entrepreneurs that love Hawaii, that love our culture, that love this place, and are smart and intelligent and know engineering and technology and everything, can create those solutions, right? And so my solution is to support the entrepreneurs and the other problem solvers and big thinkers that are out there that can create a better future for us. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about, right?
Welcome back to Hawaii Real, everybody. I'm your host, Io Kepehu, and I want to send a shout out to our beverage host for this episode, Hawaiian Springs Water. I put the link for where you can buy Hawaiian Springs Water on Amazon in the description below. Go ahead and purchase it right from Amazon and have it delivered directly to your door. You don't even have to go out of your house to get this Big Island water. And this episode is brought to you by the Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce. The Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce's mission is to malama Native Hawaiians in business and commerce through leadership, relationships, and connections to economic resources and opportunity. The Chamber's programs and events are designed to facilitate connections and promote business growth, professional and economic development, and sustainability. The Chamber's membership is open to individuals, nonprofit organizations, and businesses of all sizes. To learn more about the Chamber and how you can join, visit the website, www.nativehawaiianchamberofcommerce.org. All right, and we're back, and I have an awesome guest here today, Kawika Burgess. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me. Aloha.
Okay, and Kawika is the president and chief lending officer for Alliance Commercial Finance. And you used to be the CEO of Kelowna Brand, the CEO of the Hawaiian Islands Land Trust, chief operating officer for Office of Hawaiian Affairs, OHA, and you were the land asset and operations manager for Kamehameha Schools. What else were you doing?
Jeez.
I know, right? Looking at this, like, whoa. And you were the program coordinator for the Trust for Public Lands, the Native Lands program.
Great organization.
And your website, everybody can find them at www.alliancecommercialfinance.com.
That's right.
This is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You're like a mountain of man that's just coming on here, and it's like, dude, you're so powerful too.
Yeah. Oh man.
Is that enough? Like, compliments over there.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm feeling good now.
Feel good. Let's go. Let's do this.
Thank you.
All right. Quick questions to get down to who is Kawika Burgess. So what high school you went? Schools.
Yeah. I was Kolohe in high school. So I actually went to Kamehameha Schools for 10 and a half years and graduated from Kaiser High School with a minor in Sandy Beach.
There's a story behind that. We don't have to get into that, but yeah, plenty of my friends, same way. I went to Kamehameha, and then I didn't grad.
Yeah.
I went.
Yeah, that's right. I tell people that's where I got my education though, but
Yeah, one of my buddies went to like some big name college. He's like, yeah, I went to such and such college. Oh, what year did you grad? He's like, I went to such and such college.
Yeah, I said I went.
I got it. Okay. What neighborhood are you from?
I grew up in Maunalua on the east end of Oahu, otherwise known as Hawaii Kai in Ko'olaupoko. Yeah.
Nice.
Close to Sandy's, close to Portlock.
Hawaii Kai boys, that's what they call them back then.
Beautiful area. Yeah.
HKB.
Yeah. I know the tattoos. We know some of them.
Do you have a nickname?
Oh, man.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. Not many people know, but so when I was growing up, WWE, I think it was called WWF at the time. Wrestling was really big, right? With Ricky Steamboat and Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan.
Were you Rowdy?
And so so there were two Samoan wrestlers. They were brothers, and one of them, his name was Sika. And so we would have Rumble Royals at my friend's house, like jumping off the couches and everything. And so like one day I was like standing up on the couch and I was like, Sika from Samoa, and jumped on one of my friends. And ever since then, my nickname in high school and growing up was Sika.
Did they just stop it at Sika, or did they go all the way Sika from Samoa?
Sika, no, there's no Samoa.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does anybody still call you that? Your friends or anything?
Very rarely when I run into like one of my old friends from high school, because it ended there.
Watch, his next business is going to be called Sika.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. Yeah, was his name, was the wrestler's name. Probably wasn't even his real name, but.
Oh, that's awesome. Whoa, what is your favorite holiday?
I don't know if I have a favorite holiday, but I always enjoy just getting together with family. And so, that happens around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so that's always fun, a good time of the year.
So that end of the year holiday season.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
just getting together with family that sometimes you don't see too often. And it's always nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, local boy. Shoyu on rice or no?
Yeah, well, you have to have shoyu if you're going to eat rice. But nowadays, you should be cutting back on the rice. Or at least I should.
Oh, cutting back on the rice, not the shoyu.
That's right.
I was thinking,
keep it low carbs.
The low sodium shoyu? No, cut back on the rice.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Try not to eat too much of it.
I'll cut back on the bread before I cut back on the rice.
Yeah,
I love
it's
me some
easier
rice.
to cut back on the bread than the rice, that's for sure, especially in Hawaii.
Did you hear there are some studies going out about brown rice not being as healthy as they thought it was?
I never heard that.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's like everybody thought that brown rice was supposed to be way more healthy than white rice. And now it's like, well, no, it's actually...
That seems to be the cycle though, right? Like coffee is good for you and then it's not and then it is, and tea is and then it isn't. And
what is good for you anymore? What is good for you?
Science evolves, right? We learn and we keep learning.
It's like ice cream's good for you. It's got, milk and all this other good stuff. Oh, milk's not good for you anymore either. It's like, man,
see, that's another example.
My life it's just tearing down my life, man. But speaking of that, what is your favorite local food?
Favorite local food? Probably just fish and poi or stu luau. Stu luau is right in there at the top as well.
Luau.
Yeah.
What is that?
My wife makes a really good stu luau. Just so luau leaf with the beef stew meat.
Oh,
wonderful.
I've never had
fresh
that.
Poi. Really?
Stew luau.
We're gonna hook you up with some stew luau.
So it's like beef stew, but you have leaves in the.
It's the luau leaf. Yeah, you gotta clean it, boil it, and then the stew meat with Hawaiian salt, and it's
That's
wonderful.
Nice. Yeah, because I like both of those.
Yeah.
Mix them together. Oh,
we have to get you some stew luau.
Cool.
We'll get you some.
One of the things I found out from eating Hawaiian food, and I love poi. I can eat poi on its own.
Right.
But do you ever eat poi mixed with other stuff, like a sauce?
No.
So the poi one day got into my Kalua pig and rice, and I was like, oh, that's a good combination.
Yeah.
So I ended up pouring the rest of the little bowl of poi all over the Kalua pig and rice and just ate it like that. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Hawaiians, you out there, take your poi, pour it on top of the Kalua pig and rice like a sauce and mix that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was good.
Yeah. I think I've probably done it the opposite way around, right? Where you have a bowl of poi and then, especially with poke, and then, maybe throw some
just dip it
Kalua
in.
pig on top. Yeah.
It's like when you use poi as a sauce, I was like, oh man, that's fantastic.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. What was the other one I found? It was Zippy's chili on Zippy's chicken katsu.
Oh, yeah.
Order a chicken katsu plate, and then you order like a small bowl of Zippy's chili, and you pour that bugger on top of the chicken katsu.
Yeah, katsu curry, katsu chili.
Yeah, we're talking about cutting back on rice. And talking about this other stuff. It's like, wow, this is mainlander listeners, they don't know what we're talking about. This whole Zippy's chili thing is awesome stuff. Do you have a favorite beach?
That probably Sandy Beach.
Oh,
yeah, grew up over there.
Do you still go there?
Not as often because I live in Kunia now, kind of central Oahu, so we don't get out there as often. But it's funny because when I go there, it's still looks the same and beautiful, get the same feeling, and then a lot of the same people that were there since I was growing up are still there, so some things never change. Yeah, we're all getting older.
They're not at Chambers so much anymore. They're more to the left side.
Yeah, full point.
So you get older, it's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to get slammed over there.
Yeah. I haven't really body surfed at shore break for a while. I'm too old for that already, but
I went last year and got totally pounded. I was like, why do people do this? This sucks.
Yeah.
But it's so fun.
Yeah. Point Panics is better now. You don't get slammed as hard.
I like the ride. I like going for the rides.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, if you had superpowers, what would they be?
Oh, man. What would that be? Maybe just to transport, go from one place to another. That would be cool.
Teleportation kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could
Be
avoid,
anywhere you wanted to go. Travel
TSA.
cheaply.
avoid traffic.
Avoid TSA.
Or just traffic. You wouldn't have to
See all
sit in
those
traffic.
places you always wanted to see.
You could just go Sandy's and then go work.
Yeah.
And then go back Sandy's and then go home.
Right?
Yeah, you could do it all. You wouldn't even have to paddle out. You just
Wouldn't
go.
need to own a car.
No car. You save money on insurance.
Yeah. Hopefully you could take your surfboard with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an idea. Totally selfish on that side, but hey, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
All right, here's a fun one. How many pairs of slippers do you own?
Oh my, just one actually. We have my dog eats slippers, so I just have one that I make sure that she doesn't touch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked me that question. I was like, I think a local boy should have 3 pairs of slippers. You have your beach pair of slippers, you have your everyday pair of slippers, and then you have your dress up pair of slippers. Like your olukais and stuff.
Yeah. Actually, so Scott slippers are real popular here, right? Like the black Scott slippers.
Yeah.
And so actually I have 2, right? So I have an old pair of Scott slippers, but like we haven't really been going to people's houses lately because of the pandemic and everything. But before, you go to the house, everybody leaves their slippers outside and there's at least like 4 or 5 black Scott slippers. So just not that long ago, I was putting on my slippers and realized that I had like 2 different
sizes.
We switched along the way. So
well, it used to be you could go to these parties and you had olukais and you could leave them and nobody would take them.
Yeah.
But now you go there and like all the dads have olukais. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Brah, that's my brand right there. And that's the model I have. Do I leave mine and risk
So you have to
taking
get
mine
good
home?
at putting your slippers in a little bit different place so that you know that that's yours.
You come out of the house and you look around, it's like, bro, my slippers are gone.
Yeah, it happens.
How you know you live Hawaii? Oh, come out of the thing and your slippers are gone.
Yeah, everybody has the same slippers.
Do you like any junk food?
No, I don't like junk food. Well, fairly recently, started getting into Hawaiian chocolate, Hawaiian grown cacao and Hawaiian made chocolate. So I don't eat a lot of it, and I never really liked sweets or candy, but Hawaiian chocolate is really good.
What makes it so good?
It's real. The best analogy that I give is it's similar to coffee. So the same way coffee grows around the world, right, in the tropics, but when it's grown in Hawaii, because of our unique soil and our unique climate and the organisms in the soil, it has a unique flavor and a unique terroir. And so cacao is the same way, when it's grown in Hawaii, because of our soil, our water, the organisms, it has a unique flavor. So it's real fruity, and it's a very small industry in Hawaii, but it's known as a premium product.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Premium Hawaiian cacao, premium chocolate.
How much chocolate is made here in Hawaii?
Yeah, not much. There's a handful of companies that are fairly small companies. Manoa Chocolate, Lonohana Chocolate, 2 of the more well-known. And then there's some companies on the Big Island where they have the farm and then they make the chocolate there on the farm.
Are they just as addicting as regular coffee or more so?
Yeah. I mean, if you like chocolate, it can definitely be addicting. It's really good. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Hawaiian chocolate is good.
I'm going to have to try some of that.
Yeah.
So since you're so well-versed in all these other things, do you speak any other languages?
Just Hawaiian.
You speak Hawaiian?
Yeah.
Nice.
A little bit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's becoming more and more of a staple here in Hawaii, where you're seeing more and more people actually diving in and conversing in Native Hawaiian. It's like, wow, it's really cool. There's a guy that has a podcast in Native Hawaiian.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. That's really cool. Yeah, I studied Hawaiian language at University of Hawaii at Hilo. And then, speaking of the schooling and stuff, so there was Navahio Kalanio Pu'u is one of the immersion schools, and they were one of the early schools, and they had like the first class of Hawaiian immersion students. And so when I was a senior in college, they were in 9th grade, and they needed a social studies teacher. And I was studying geography and Hawaiian studies. And so I actually was a teacher for 1 year at the Hawaiian
Teaching
Immersion
social studies
School.
in Hawaiian.
Yeah, at Navahio Kalanio Pu'u.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool school.
That's not on your resume. I didn't
still
see
going
that.
strong till today. Yeah.
That's really, really cool and fascinating.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah.
That's super impressive. You're like this Renaissance man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Done a few different things, that's for sure.
But that's how you make all these real changes in the world, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to get to know you here, would you rather live under the ocean or rather live on the moon?
Under the ocean or on the moon? Probably under the ocean. I grew up at the beach and in the ocean, so probably under the ocean.
I'm kind of scared to live on the moon, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you got radiation.
Not sure the climate would suit me well up there, but.
So if you could describe yourself as one of the 4 seasons.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, in Hawaii, we really only have 2, right? Winter and summer. So it would be summer.
And describe yourself as that. What makes you summer?
I like the long days, right? And surfing and being outside. And so that's what I enjoy. And so that's what I would relate most to.
South Shore.
Yeah.
Or the North Shore.
Yeah. I grew up on the South Shore.
Yeah,
Never did get into like big wave surfing. A lot of my friends got into big wave surfing, but I'm just a small wave guy.
Me too. And I boogie board and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. It's like, oh, you don't surf these big waves? And like, nah.
Yeah.
Dude, nah.
Yeah. Right about 6 feet, it starts getting spooky and it's not as fun.
Yeah. No. Not
Actually,
at all.
nowadays it's a lot smaller than that, where it starts getting spooky.
Yeah, the older you get, the smaller waves you're on, right?
Right.
I don't know. I go out sometimes to Makapu'u and see like some really old guys like still body surfing.
Yeah.
So, whoa, I want to be you when I'm that old. Just
Yeah.
surviving and doing it, man.
Makapu'u is
Epic.
Nice. Yeah.
Epic.
Those waves are pretty mellow, but fun.
I don't know, man. These waves are pretty big.
Yeah, it gets big out there though, right? Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I got slammed one time and I was just like, nope, I'm done. Went back in.
That's it. Yeah, be careful.
All right. So we brought you on here to talk about your business with Alliance Finance, Alliance Commercial Finance, and how you guys help other businesses, other entrepreneurs get funding. And it's different from getting funding from a bank and stuff like that, right?
Sure. Yes.
Do you want to dive into that and tell the audience what is the advantages of going with a business like yours?
Sure. Yeah. Well, kind of just to give you the background, it kind of speaks to the advantage. So how Alliance Commercial Finance came to be was I was looking to start my own real estate company here in Hawaii. I was working for the largest private landowner at the time. And I was managing a portfolio of real estate, and I got the idea to start my own management company. And so I developed a business plan and kind of, was planning things out, and then, realized or, started to plan for financing the business. I needed working capital, to establish and sustain the business. And then I was also looking for real estate financing for my clients, who would be real estate investors and real estate owners, as well as the company doing investments. And so I met with my contacts and friends at the local banks. And then really it was just by chance that I came across a private lending company based out of New York. And I actually was able to meet the owner of the company. And he introduced me to the world of non-bank financing, private lending. And he did small balance commercial real estate loans, like 5 million and below, private lending, much less restrictive financing than your typical banks and lenders. And then he also did asset-based business lending, accounts receivable factoring for businesses, and some equipment financing. And so he could finance businesses where banks had turned down, or creative real estate deals that other banks and lenders couldn't do. And I got really intrigued with the whole world of private financing and alternative financing. And so long story short is I not only started the real estate company, but I started the finance company as well. Because I felt like as a real estate professional and as an entrepreneur, I didn't know all what was available, for financing for businesses and real estate investors that, really wasn't readily available in Hawaii. And so I felt that, I could help other entrepreneurs such as myself, become familiar with what I had learned, the different types of financing that were available. And so, to get back to your question, right, what are the advantages is, Your typical businessman, entrepreneur, even investor, when they're looking for financing, the top of mind place to go is to the bank, right? And we love the banks, and if you can get financing from the bank, that's great. The banks, are critically important and serve us all very well. But as far as business financing, they typically are turning away 7 to 8 out of the 10 funding requests that they receive. They're highly regulated. They have certain restrictions and regulations that they need to abide by. They're great fiduciary responsibility, right? Managing other people's money. And so depending on where you look, what statistics, but somewhere around, 6 to 8 applications are turned away. Right. And so a lot of entrepreneurs and investors aren't getting the financing that they need from the bank. At the same time, like I had learned, there's a world of capital out there, but it's with private lenders, specialty fintech companies, alternative finance companies, maybe small regional banks, or, just one location lenders and banks and credit unions. They don't have national sales teams. They don't have national advertising campaigns. They don't have a brick and mortar building on every corner, but they have money to lend. And so there's a disconnect in the market between your average entrepreneur and capital that's available. And so that's the void that we seek to fill, is to help entrepreneurs and investors understand what's available to them and help them get the right type of financing. Even if they've been turned away from the bank, there's typically financing that can be available. And one of the reasons why is this is a little bit of an oversimplification, but generally speaking, banks and lenders like to see what I call the 3 C's. So they want a business to have good cash flow. They want the owners to have good credit, and they want the business to have collateral. So cash flow, credit, and collateral. And they want you to have all 3 in order to get approved, generally speaking, again. But with some of these private lenders, alternative finance companies, small regional lenders, they can loan on any one of the 3. So if the business is just generating cash flow, but maybe you don't have good credit or even collateral, there's lending products available based on your revenues. Or if you just have credit, but you not generating revenue yet, or don't have collateral, there's credit-based lending. And then collateral, if you have equipment, or if you have like accounts receivables or inventory, those are all things that you can potentially get financing for, even if you've been turned down by a bank.
So who's the typical type of, I guess, is it a customer that comes to you guys, or?
Yeah, I call them clients. Yeah. So a lot of the clients we work with are kind of main street businesses. So we do work with a lot of early stage businesses, startups and entrepreneurs. We're in a little bit of an economic downturn right now. And if you look historically in economic downturns, you see startups of new businesses. Right? People being laid off, and so people start businesses. What's also happening now is a trend is with the pandemic, people are working from home, or some people are needing to go to work and just don't want to do that anymore, and so we're seeing an uptick in new businesses, in startups, in new entrepreneurs. And so we work with a lot of, just newer businesses, whether it be, there's a lot of e-commerce and Amazon-based businesses to...
I was going to ask you about that. It's like with the pandemic, people getting laid off or getting shut out, not necessarily always laid off, but getting work from home. They kind of get into the groove of working from home and say, oh, wait, I can stay on my couch or my living room and actually generate an income. Yeah. And then create their own little business from there.
Yeah, that's one of the top reasons that people start their own businesses, is to be their own boss. And especially nowadays, right, with technology and with everything, there's a lot of businesses that can be run from home. And so we do work with a lot of home-based businesses, a lot of small businesses, but really, kind of across the board, different types of small businesses and entrepreneurs. And then we also do work with a lot of real estate investors. The real estate market is hot, not only in Hawaii, but across the US right now. And so there's a lot of aspiring, real estate investors looking to start to build some equity or build some, recurring revenue through real estate. And we work with a lot of real estate investors as well.
So I want to ask you, based on your definitions here with all of these companies and entrepreneurs, what is your definition of a startup? Like, how does someone get to that point? Is it right when they have an idea, or is it further along than that?
Yeah. My simple definition is generally less than 3 years in business. A lot of banks and lenders do like to lend to businesses that are 3 years or more in business. And so again, my general definition is, less than 3 years in business. And then to your question though, typically a startup, we help people start businesses as well. So as far as forming an LLC, or just advising them on starting an LLC, there's a lot of advantages to having a business, right? A LLC or a corporation, rather than just a sole proprietorship or, running it, kind of in your own name. And so, once that business is formed, but, we do work with a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe just have business plans or ideas, and, we can help them actually start an LLC and start getting funding if they need it to grow the business as well. And so everywhere from kind of that business plan stage all the way up to 3 years is kind of the early stage businesses, the startups that we work with.
So for your guys' company, how many people do you have in your team?
So here in Hawaii so me and my daughter, Sonoy,
very cool.
are here locally. And then we have a number, how we work is we work a lot through referral agents, referral partners. So just other professionals that work with entrepreneurs, with business owners, with real estate investors, and their clients, are coming across the need for financing and maybe getting turned down from the bank, maybe not finding what they need. And we get business that way. And then we also have a number of independent contractors, commercial finance advisors, commercial finance brokers on the continent that we support, and that they, work with the entrepreneurs and the businesses and the investors in their communities and in their areas as well.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you again, where does the money come from? Like when you talk about getting loans from the bank and everything, everybody assumes, okay, the money coming from the bank.
Right.
But for your guys' thing, where does it come from? Other investors or?
Yeah, good question. So we have a number of lending partners that we work with, right? And so back to my story, right? I met a owner of a private lending company in New York. And so he's lending his own money and some of his own investors. And then what made his business unique as well is if they couldn't assist the client with the financing that they had, he had established a network of other lending partners, other lenders, where they would refer the client so that the client, could get the funding that they needed.
That's huge customer service.
Right.
Huge.
And so we've been able to tap into that network and kind of grow it and expand our relationship since then. And so we have a number of partners where we're the conduit, for the lending. They have capital available. To lend. Again, they don't have banks on every corner or national advertising campaigns, but, we have access to entrepreneurs, business owners, investors looking for capital, and we're able to identify the right type of funding for our clients, and then the right specific program to help them get the financing that they need.
So for the audience who watches things like Shark Tank, are you guys like that or completely different?
Yeah,
from that?
no, that's a really good question. Yeah, I love Shark Tank. Yeah. But so kind of simple answer in business financing, really there's two ways to finance a business, right? So, two general ways, equity or debt. And so one of the ways is equity, like Shark Tank, right? Where they're pitching to the sharks and they're looking for equity investments. And so on equity side, you have friends and family that might give you money to start your business and then maybe take a percentage of ownership. You have private equity firms, right, that invest in and buy other companies. You have venture capital, right? And so that's on the equity side. And then what we tend to focus on and specialize in is debt financing. And there's a lot of different types of debt financing as well, right? So it can be the SBA loan program, or it can be equipment loans or equipment leasing, asset-based lending, unsecured lines of credit. And so there's a lot of different types of debt financing as well. And there's a lot of creative and alternative types of debt financing. And that's really what we specialize in.
What's like one of your or more creative ones that you've heard about or done?
Yeah, so probably one of our top programs that's really creative and really cool. We're helping a lot of businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs. It's a fintech company, a partner that we work with, and they've been around for 14 years. They've been able to help over 20,000 entrepreneurs and businesses get access to unsecured lines of credit. And so I mentioned earlier, right, that the banks are turning away, 7 to 8 out of 10. The number one source of financing for businesses in the United States is credit cards. And probably, I think it's, something like 85% of businesses need financing, to sustain the business. And the number one source of that is credit cards. The problem is that a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners use their personal credit cards to start, build, and grow their businesses. And that can have an impact on their personal credit when they're doing that. And so one of the things that we do and what this program does is assist clients in establishing and building business credit for the business. So separate from your personal credit, you can get a Dun & Bradstreet number and an IntelliScore with Experian. And then there's a process where you can actually establish and build business credit. And we help our clients separate their personal and their business finances and their personal and their business credit. And then they can obtain unsecured lines of credit or business cards in the business name rather than their personal credit. And so it's a very popular program, and it's helping a lot of businesses just get, 25 to 150,000 in unsecured lines of credit to start, build, grow the business.
That can be huge for startups.
Yeah. A lot of businesses are just looking for money for advertising, maybe to hire their first staff, to scale up, to buy equipment, to take the business to the next level. And so they're just looking for 25 to 150,000. They haven't been in business for the 3 years. They might not have, all the financial statements, collateral, but this program, we help our clients get, unsecured lines of credit and establish business credit. So it's a cool program, and it's using technology. They've developed a software where they have all of the information from most of the top banks, credit unions, and lenders in the nation. Like, how much they lend, what credit scores they require, which credit bureaus they pull from, et cetera, et cetera. And then, again, they have 14 years and 20,000 clients of data. So we know we can input a client's credit information and business information and identify which banks and lenders will give them the largest lines of credit at the lowest interest rates in the quickest amount of time.
That makes it really easy for you.
Yeah, it's a cool program.
I kind of did want to get into who you are and how your mindset works too, because just like we were just talking here about me and being an entrepreneur, there's got to be depth into who you are and how you were able to do all of these businesses and start all this stuff when, from high school time, you said you're Kolohe, and you graduated, with a degree in sand science.
That's
from
right.
Kawikas.
Sand science, that's me.
That's awesome. Well, do you have a mantra or a life philosophy that you live by?
That's a great question. I mean, one of the main things that just drives me is love for Hawaii, love for Hawaii, for my family, for this place. I feel so blessed and special to have grown up in one of the most beautiful, unique, special places in the whole world, right? As an early age, my father was into just the Hawaiian culture. He was a trustee at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and so at an early age, he took me diving and surfing and fishing and took me to some of the most beautiful places in Hawaii, because he would travel the islands and he was giving presentations and he was meeting with communities. So, as a kid, I was in places like Miloli'i Fishing Village in South Kona and camping on the backside of Molokai and Pelekunu with Uncle Walter Riddy and going to Kauai. And so I fell in love with Hawaii and our unique history, language, culture. and have a deep kind of sense of place and love of family. And I think that's my primary kind of motivation and driver. And then kind of through my experiences, like I mentioned, I started off, I've always been interested in Hawaiian history, language, culture, land, and then entrepreneurship as well, because my father was also an entrepreneur. He had a real estate company, he had a mortgage company, he had an insurance company, he had a number of businesses. And so he kind of instilled kind of an entrepreneurial spirit in me. And then fairly early age, actually in college, I started really getting into just business and entrepreneurship as well. And so I've always just been interested in kind of, the mix of that. And then through my experiences, like working at the Trust for Public Land, Kamehameha Schools, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, we know by knowing our history and seeing that the current economic model, the current trends aren't working for us, right? And it's fascinating because our ancestors lived 1,000 years sustainably.
You're specifically talking about Native Hawaiians, not just Hawaii residents.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a unique mixture of cultures as well, right? Yeah. And so that's all part of the mix. But yeah, I mean, our Hawaiian ancestors lived here for 1,000 years, without any, interaction with the outside world. Or they were the greatest navigators on the globe as well, and very entrepreneurial, right? Fishing and farming. And so we had a sustainable system, right? Kind of a regenerative, land-based culture and land and sustainable economics. And then we adapted kind of a Western large scale continental industrial, both with large plantation agriculture, which we saw didn't work. And then, even now with tourism, is it long-term sustainable, right? Last year or in 2019, we had 10 million tourists, right? Is the trend to go to 15 and then 20, right? And so part of me has always just been thinking, how can we create a more sustainable, a more regenerative, a more equitable Hawaii?
So what are some of the solutions?
Yeah. So I think part of it is diversifying our economy, right? And a key part of it is, I don't have all of the solutions, but the next generation of entrepreneurs that love Hawaii, that love our culture, that love this place, and are smart and intelligent and know engineering and technology and everything, can create those solutions, right? And so my solution is to support the entrepreneurs and the other problem solvers and big thinkers that are out there that can create a better future for us. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about, right? So, instead of, our businesses and our industries, being from owners and other people's models and other people's values, right? Continental scale, single bottom line type of businesses and economics. What if we can create, Hawaii values-based, this place-based businesses and industries that can sustain us for the next 1,000 years without destroying this place and the lifestyle that we know and love.
Are there any businesses that are doing that right now or building up to that?
Yeah, there's a number of them. There's a lot of, just upcoming growing, entrepreneurs and businesses. And so, renewable energy is really important, and Hawaii's kind of on the forefront of that, right? So different solar businesses and ways of conserving energy, storing that solar energy. And we've worked with some businesses there, definitely around, food and agriculture, right? So, conventional agriculture, large scale industrial, we saw didn't work. And so re-envisioning and, rescaling our agriculture and food system so that it's more sustainable, regenerative, based on our Hawaii grown produce, crops and produce, what products can we create so that we can eat things that were grown and made here. That's another growing sector. There's a whole growing kind of fashion industry in Hawaii. So there's a lot of growing sectors with more, locally grown and values-based entrepreneurs. And I think there's lots of opportunity for us to continue to diversify our economy and grow the next generation of kind of values-based triple bottom line businesses.
I know it's probably not your area of expertise, but Is there enough land here to create our own agriculture to support the population here?
Yeah, there's actually been studies on that, and it depends on what level, what diet you're supporting, right? So if you're just growing, like our fruits and vegetables and produce, there's way more than enough land here. And then the next question is the proteins, right? And so, we have a large cattle industry, especially on the Big Island. A lot of that, is exported. But so the source of protein is the bigger question, right?
Wait.
What's the source of protein?
We export our cattle, our steak, our beef?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah, it's just the economics of it, where it's the ranchers can get more money selling the calf at a young age than they can continually feeding and rotating and bringing it to slaughter here in Hawaii. The finishing is the tough part. A lot of nutrients and stuff need to go into the cattle. I'm not in any way expert in the cattle industry, but I know the finishing, is a important part of it, right? And then the slaughter as well. And we don't really have that infrastructure to at a large scale, but there's more and more of that occurring now. Paniolo Cattle Company, Kunoa was a company a few years ago where we're trying to create more locally grass-fed beef and locally, grown and produced beef products as well.
I think I would pay a premium. I would pay more money to have Hawaiian grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
To eat.
Yeah. And so part of it is like we also need to look at our diet, right? Can we eat, a traditional Kansas meal, and support ourselves in Hawaii? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But can we eat a Hawaiian meal or things that grow and can be made here locally and support us with what we have? Absolutely. Right. And so part of it is changing our diet. Part of us is,
let's get back to that whole rice thing. It's like, we don't grow rice here, do we?
We used to though. So, before it was taro sustained us for, about 1,000 years. And then a lot of those taro patches were converted to rice, and we have a large Chinese population as well, right? And a lot of Chinese came in for the plantations, and a lot of the lo'i, the taro patches were converted to rice. Believe it or not, we used to grow a lot of rice in Hawaii
totally
as well.
Because we have Calrose rice, right?
All the way in the early 1900s, we were exporting produce out of Hawaii to support California. So we can definitely, grow enough and do enough to feed ourselves here locally.
So mind-boggling.
And we, that's one of the things going for us, right? Like, a friend of mine, Oliver, says, can Hawaii be, kind of at the cutting edge of, artificial intelligence and machine learning? Maybe not, but, we have year-round growing conditions. We have some of the richest volcanic soils in the nation. We have, clean air, clean water. We have a 1,000 years of tradition of sustainable agriculture. We have all of these mixtures of different cultures and great foods. Can we be a hub for regenerative and sustainable food systems? Absolutely, right. And so I think that's a big trend. What
are some of the barriers? What are some of the hurdles we got to get over?
It's, so again, we had a small scale regenerative food system, and then we went to the large scale industrial. And so a lot of our agricultural lands till today are set up for large scale industrial agriculture, big fields with, large water systems, deteriorating old plantation water systems. And so, and with that large scale plantation model, we lost a lot of the smaller scale industry capacity, right? We were talking about slaughterhouses earlier, to, mechanics that can work on farming equipment, to, all the different businesses, supplementary, complementary businesses that can support the agricultural industry. A lot of that was lost, over the years with the plantations. And so, it's going to take an effort to build back up that infrastructure that can support smaller scale, diversified and regenerative agriculture. And then one of the other barriers, which is what a lot of businesses are working on now, though, is we learned that you can't just grow the crops and it's hard to be economically viable. So we need to move up the value chain. And that's what some of the businesses that we're supporting now, and some of the things that I'm involved with, is supporting businesses that are making value-made products out of produce and crops that are grown here locally. And I think there's a great opportunity there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, that's
what is Kawika doing in 10 years?
Yeah. So, continuing to doing what I'm doing now, kind of, supporting other entrepreneurs. Our motto is we are entrepreneurs, funding entrepreneurs. So I know what it's like to be an entrepreneur looking for financing for your business. Like we were just talking about, I do believe that next generation of values-based entrepreneurs are going to create the change that we want to see. So I'm going to continue to support, the next generation of entrepreneurs. And hopefully I'll be a part of, spinning off some of these businesses and some of these solutions to create a more sustainable business and industries here in Hawaii, and preserve and perpetuate the way of life that we love, here in Hawaii, so that our children and our children's children can continue to live here and to prosper, as well.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what is the mark you want to leave in this world? But I think you've kind of nailed that out right there.
Yeah.
So another in-depth, deep question I want to ask you. If there is a historical figure that you could bring back and have a conversation with, who would that be?
Wow.
And what would you guys be talking about?
Yeah. The first name that came to mind is Kuhio, Prince Jonah Kuhio. So he's an intriguing figure. I actually wrote a book about him when I worked for the University of Hawaii at Hilo, the Hawaiian language department, and so I studied his life and actually wrote a book about him in Hawaiian, and he's a very intriguing figure,
time out.
Right?
You wrote a book on him in Hawaiian?
Yeah. This was a long time ago, but he's a very intriguing figure.
We're going to add that author to your long list of things here.
Yeah. So, like he was the nephew of Kalakaua and Queen Kapi'olani, so he was a prince. He and his brothers, and he was a young man growing up in the Hawaiian kingdom, learned under Kalakaua, under Queen Lili'uokalani, and then was here during the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom. He actually fought in the counter-revolution in 1895. He actually went to prison for being a part of the counter-revolution. He actually, after that, with everything going on, left Hawaii and actually fought in the Boer War in South Africa.
Wow.
And
on which side?
Went away, I think, with the Boers, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So he went away for a while, and then he came back, and eventually he became Hawaii's second delegate to the United States Congress, right? He was elected to serve in Congress as Hawaii's delegate, Hawaii's non-voting member. And he served for around 20 years, and was instrumental in a lot of key legislation for Hawaii, not the least among them being the creation of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, and setting aside 220,000 acres for the rehabilitation of the Native Hawaiian people. And so he's an incredible figure. Him and his brothers introduced surfing to the world in California.
Nice.
So we all know that Hawaii is the home of surfing, right? And Hawaiians created surfing. So they took surfing to California.
Well, what would you like to ask him?
I would just love to have a conversation with him. Yeah.
At what point in his life would you like to meet him? Because he had all these different assets or avenues and different times of his life. Yeah,
probably towards the end, kind of, and his reflections back, because living in, the Hawaiian kingdom at an early age, and, being a prince in the Hawaiian kingdom. So, unique education, unique upbringing, actually serving in it, then being part of, obviously one of the most tumultuous times in Hawaiian history, the actual overthrow of the kingdom, and then, counter-revolution war, and then serving in Congress, right? And so I would love to talk to him maybe towards the end of his life, and kind of just reflecting back on everything. There would be so much to learn.
He sounds like a Renaissance man. It's kind of similar to yourself. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever called you that, but yes, Renaissance man is what you are, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're very inspirational. Who is who do you find inspiration from?
Yeah. Good question. I think so, one of my early inspirations obviously was my dad. He had a huge impact on me, taught me a lot about, just Hawaii and to be proud of our culture, to know our culture, and to make a difference, right? He was somebody that, stood up for what he believed in and tried to make positive change in his own way. And so that was really, instilled upon me. Other entrepreneurs and business owners inspire me, not necessarily the famous multi-million or billionaire entrepreneurs, but people such as yourself, that see a need, and do something about it, and create products or services that can solve people's problems and create positive change for us in our community. So entrepreneurs inspire me. And just, people, doing important work, what they're passionate about, and trying to leave this world a little bit better are the people that inspire me.
Is Dad still around?
No, he passed away about 5 years ago.
What would you say to him if you could see him today? Or how would he see you today?
Yeah. That's a good question, but again, he was an entrepreneur, so I think he would get a kick out of me, having my own business again. And he was actually he was really smart financially as well. So he was in the mortgage industry and real estate, so like he could run mortgages and how much your payment would be like off the top of his head and stuff. I think he would be interested in that. I'm in the commercial finance industry.
It's like you followed his footsteps, so to speak, and doing more than he ever did. Yeah. So I think that's what I want for my kids. Like, hey, follow Dad's footsteps a little bit, but do so much more with what you've got. Yeah. So. Yeah. Kawika, any last words for the audience here?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, brother.
I learned a lot from you as well, and super excited that we're able to meet in person, and I look forward to continuing our connection and learning more about you and your businesses and enterprises as well.
Hell yeah. All right, dude. It's been so fun and amazing and inspiring having you on, listening to your stories. I'm putting myself into another position where I'm just like, wow, this is so awesome having another connection. I'm growing myself even more.
Thank you.
And that's what I love.
Yes. This is awesome.
Just
mahalo.
Big mahalo.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. All right, everybody. I hope you love this. And as always, stay happy, Hawaii.
Stay happy.
You got to do your shakas too, man.
Aloha.